One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. To let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm standing at the crossroads. I'm feeling like a lost soul. Don't know where I wanna go, but all I know is I wanna be free. They're telling me to let it be, but that just ain't in me, no. Jealousy and envy, but all I see is I wanna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Don't let it get the most of me. Eventually, I'm gonna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I told them take their aim off me. Stop trying to get a name off me. If they would just let me be, I'm gonna be free. I told them take them chains off me and throw away the locks and keys. If they would just let me be, eventually I'm gonna be free. Free.
They're back.
What up, though? What up, though? Back, 8 days later for another episode of Diamond Effect. I'm Archbishop. We got Aaron Olinger. We're missing Mike Ball tonight. He's having his little 4th of July shindig at his place, so he's not going to be on tonight. But I'm pretty sure he may drop in the chat here and there. Say a little something, but what's up, Aaron? How was your week, brother?
Just been taking it easy, trying to get my health together, redesigning my diet, coming up with supplements, tonics, different things, herbal remedies that I'm trying, and starting to feel a little bit better. So I want to keep making good progress in that direction.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, this week it's been hectic. Like I said yesterday, reason why we didn't do the show yesterday is because I had literally been running since 2 a.m. Yesterday. And it was nonstop until about 7 o'clock last night. And when I finally sat down, like I literally sat down for probably about 20 minutes and just fell out. When I woke up, it was like 1:30 in the morning. I was exhausted, dude. It's been it's been hectic, man. I've been doing got a lot of stuff going on, but I thank God for it. But like I said, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. And I had I've had my kids here for the past couple of weeks. That's been a good little highlight of the past few weeks. They've been keeping me going, but along with everything else it's kind of been like compounded on top of that. It's only one of me. And sometimes it feels like it's 6, 7 of me running at the same time is what it seems like. But like I said, it's gonna be I think this show here is gonna be kind of educational and um people gonna have some mixed feelings to it. A lot of them don't really understand all the stuff that's going on with it. Hell, we don't really understand all the stuff that's going along with it.
Yeah.
It's so we're talking about this big beautiful bill, the 3 Bs. I got my own I got my own translation on it, but it's a lot to it. It's it's a lot to this bill, and it stands for a lot of. It's a lot of cuts. You watch a lot of the different different programs where they talking about it, and you have some that says that this is a noteworthy bill to have. That this is going to stimulate the economy. It's going to help. It's going to give out deductions and all this other stuff. But then on the other end, you hear about the significant cuts to Medicaid, SNAP benefits, VA benefits, stuff like that. The list goes on. It's a number of different things that they're talking about cutting. And so we're going to kind of dip into this bill a little bit. Like I said, this bill is 900 pages, and I think today me and Aaron was talking, and they said that they did do the House vote today, and it ended up passing. So unfortunately, it's going to end up on Trump's desk here probably tomorrow.
Mhm.
The Senate had did it day before yesterday, and of course it went to a 50-50 tie, and the vice president had to throw in the deciding vote to even get it back to the House in the first place. Because once it got to the Senate from the House the first time, they had to go through and make their own provisions on it as to what they wanted, and then vote on it, and then send it back to the House. They had to do their thing. So they did a full 24-hour debate on this, but needless to say, it passed. So so we're going to talk about this bill, being the fact that this is something that we're all going to have to deal with once it gets signed. Like I said, it'll probably end up being signed tomorrow, but we're going to talk a little bit about all this stuff. So I'm gonna let you start off, Aaron, and then I'm gonna pull up right after you, and we're just gonna keep it bouncing.
Okay. Well, you are right. It does go to Trump's desk tomorrow on July 4th. Once he signs it tomorrow, it becomes law at that point. So everything that's in the bill will be law at least while Trump is still in office. Some of the items they had to do either procedural votes or reconciliation votes because they couldn't get unanimous votes. So, and under procedural or reconciliation votes, that's where the majority vote wins. But seeing that's not unanimous, they don't get everything they ask for. They have to take a conciliatory prize, basically something of lesser value. Like, for example, when Trump had promised he was going to make sure everybody 64 years of age or older wouldn't have to pay taxes on Medicare anymore. Uh, that was voted down by some of the Democrats. So they had to go for a reconciliation vote which means we'll give the seniors a $6,000 credit, which is a hefty tax break. It's the biggest in U.S. history. And for couples, they'll get a $12,000 credit or tax deduction. But they couldn't get the 100% tax cut that they was originally going for. So I guess something here is better than nothing. And also in doing so, they secured the solvency of Social Security, which I have great concerns on that, seeing that I'm on it. They secured the solvency of Social Security and Medicaid out to the year of 2032. So I know in my mind that my benefits are protected that I work for until 2032. Now, at that point, it would be just like what we faced years ago when Trump first went in office and he saved Social Security in the first 6 months of him being in office. Social Security was going to go out in 7 years back then. And I attended a meeting where they wanted everybody to take a 40% tax cut. I mean, a 40% cut on their benefits. And we were all arguing with the government representative for the government to put the money back in that they took out to pay for Desert Storm 1, that the Kuwaiti king or prince defaulted on giving them the money back, so they didn't have the money to put back in Social Security. And they kept saying, well, we're going to pay it back. We're going to pay it back. Or if they put it in the end, they've been putting it in so little at a time, it hasn't made a difference. So we were told we were going to have to take a 40% tax cut. Trump somehow came up with the money to put in it. They kept it good till now. Now, with this bill going into effect, I'm assured that my benefits will be in place until 2032. But when that time comes, if nothing is done to save Medicaid and Social Security, at minimum, we're going to have to take a 25% cut. And the elderly can't live on less money, especially in a time period where inflation is running up to almost a hyperinflation period. The cost of living and minimum wage is not keeping up with this inflation. So right now, my benefits are protected. Social Security, I'm going to get certain tax breaks because I'm older than 64. I'm happy with what's going to directly affect me. I'm in the safe zone for right now. But I'll stop there for right now.
Well, now, okay, so you was talking about Social Security. Now, Social Security has always been the topic of conversation for many years now. And one of the biggest talking points dealing with Social Security is the fact that, back when we was younger, and they used to say, well, by the time you get old enough to get Social Security, there won't be Social Security anyway.
Right.
Because of the way it was structured. And they've never changed the structure of Social Security.
Right.
So, how it is now, it's like it goes check for check. You know what I mean? Whatever you paid this month goes out next month. Why have they not ever decided to put that under something to where the money that's in Social Security will be able to like gain money? You know what I'm saying? To where it can actually be self-sustaining. It wouldn't have to be, check to check.
Well,
that's always been what they've been doing.
If the government wouldn't have took the money out when they did, Social Security wouldn't have a solvency issue right now. I mean, we're up against the wall, and the baby boomers, I think, right now outnumber the current workforce that's out there working and paying into the system to keep it going. That's the reason why money had to be allocated to Social Security and Medicaid right now, because the baby boomers, we just outnumber the current workforce that's out there. This thing would have become insolvent probably in the next couple of years if it wasn't for this money going in. Now that I know it's good till 2032, I can take measures to start putting money back or investing in precious metals or putting money into things that uh, will keep me going when this 2032 period comes up and Social Security could end, or they could be talking about 25% cut of my benefits. Whatever happens there, uh, seeing that I got the heads up, I will put something in place to be ready for that.
Mhm. Well, for right now, like I said, Social Security got scathed for now, but we're going to talk about the ones who didn't.
Mhm.
So we're going to bring up this list of cuts that's under this bill.
Okay.
So um, the first two I'm going to talk about would be SNAP and Medicaid, because I think those two are the biggest ones that everyone's been talking about. So so with the SNAP, the total would be anywhere between 230 to 300 billion over 10 years. The changes are um, raise work requirements for adults 18 to 64 without dependents. Currently, it was 18 to
Right.
49. Uh, removes many exemptions, including for parents with kids over 7. States must begin covering a minimum of 5% of SNAP benefits across the board by 2028. Reduces federal reimbursements of administrative costs from 50% to 25%. Um, more frequent eligibility verifications. Um, now, with the eligibility verifications, they're supposed to be revamping those. So a lot of that is going to be like the wording of it. That's either going to keep you on SNAP, or you're going to end up going off of it. Now, the part where it was talking about the ages from 18 to 64. Before, it used to be if you were between 54 and 64 years of age without dependents, you would not have to meet the work requirement. You were automatically exempt for that. Now, adults age 54 to 64 without dependent would have to work a minimum of 80 hours a month to qualify. Um, the exemption for parents would now only apply to those with children under the age of 7 rather than 18. So it says here that millions could lose the benefits according to the CBO. 3 million adults per month may be cut off. More than 2 million children will see reduced food aid. Older adults at risk, 55 to 64, have historically been exempt, like we was talking about, but that changed. And an overlap with Medicaid. So you had 30 million SNAP recipients also was on Medicaid. And if they get cut off SNAP, then they get cut off Medicaid as well. So why is this point controversial? Say critics warn that with these new barriers and red tape, that efficiency push out eligible people, risking spikes in hunger, food, school lunches, strain on food banks, which already there's been a lot of talk about these food banks already have been in short supply.
Mhm.
And a lot of these supporters argue that the Republicans say that this is a restore program. This is done to restore program integrity and combat fraud, efficiency, and abuse, which they've been saying a lot here lately, by enforcing stricter work rules and eligibility checks. Now, my question about that, when they're talking about this restore program integrity and combating fraud and efficiency, which seems like that's the main thing that they've been talking about here for the past few months. Now everything is waste, fraud, and abuse, but it's been waste, fraud, and abuse forever now, and it's been the same ones that sitting in the same seats that wasn't talking about this before, but now all of a sudden it's waste, fraud, and abuse. And a lot of them that we've discovered that since they went through and voted for this bill, didn't even actually read the bill. So here's my question to you, Aaron. And this is just hypothetical because I know that you've never been in that particular seat. But if you are a member of Congress, whether you're from the Senate or the House, your primary responsibility is to serve the people in which you were elected to serve, correct?
Yeah.
So why is it that you would have a bill that's 900 pages long, which didn't start out at 900 pages, but once they started adding earmarks and special favors and, certain states being exempt and, all this stuff to get these votes, you went through all this trouble to get the votes to pass this bill, but over half of them didn't even read the bill. So how are you, quote, quote, doing your job and protecting your constituents in your areas that you're supposed to be representing when you don't even read the damn bill? You just voting on it simply because of where it came from.
Well, unfortunately, the parties are so loyal to each other that they forget that their job is to serve the American citizens. Democrats are for the Democrats, Republicans are for the Republicans, and all of us, rest of us people, we're stuck in the middle between that tug of war that they've got going on between them. And they've totally forgotten that they're there to serve the best interests of the American public. But I'll stop there.
Now, with them tightening up these SNAP benefits, and then all of a sudden, now they want to start sending a lot of that cost over to the states. Now, I think that's going to be where a lot of these people end up going to get thrown off. My opinion. Reason being is that the states are already tight as is. A lot of these states are in the red already. Okay. So once you throw this on to where the state has to fund at least another 5% of this, then I'm thinking that a lot of these people that's gonna get taken off of these benefits is gonna be because the state can't afford that 5%. You know what I mean? But it also, like I said, like you looking at millions of people that's gonna be taken off. But you also got to think like, okay, so when you take these people off of SNAP and these food kitchens and all this other stuff, they get overwhelmed. Like, what exactly are we doing here? You know what I mean? So, because this kind of goes back, this kind of trickles down into the actual school because it affects the school lunches, affects all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just dealing with like, okay, somebody abused the system and we're gonna kick them off. Surely we know that there's people that has abused the system. There's somebody that has abused every single thing that they've came up with. It's always somebody that has abused them. Now, are we saying that SNAP has not been one of those? Surely not, because we know that that's been done. But for the number of people that's going to be taken off of that, you're talking about millions of people that's no longer going to be able to have SNAP benefits, or the way they rewrite it will keep them from being eligible for it. And then you drop down into the Medicaid part of it, where you got over 17 million that can end up being uninsured. And if you lose SNAP and you have Medicaid and you lose both, I mean, that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people, especially when you got a lot of these families that really actually need SNAP benefits. They need Medicaid or Medicare or Affordable Care Act. I mean, they need these programs. So if you're cutting so much out of it, which is going, okay, like Medicare, for instance, you cutting $1.8 trillion off of that. And that converts Medicaid into like a block grant was it like what they called a block grant cap? Is what they called it. It ends the Medicaid Affordable Care Act. It reduces the state to take on more of the cost, which of course, state ain't gonna be able to pay for it. They're gonna start making cuts of their own. It eliminates retroactive coverage and optional benefits. And like I said, you got millions of low income people that could lose this coverage entirely. So other than getting a couple dollars on the tax return, I'm still not seeing where this is beneficial. Now, we do see where they added 150 billion to the Department of Defense, where they're trying to start trying to get this golden dome set up, kind of like how Israel has, and so they're trying to do that part. But why would you add 150 billion more to defense spending? Now that's kind of like the only thing that actually end up getting a lot of money is defense, but defense is the biggest fraud. Every audit, what is the past 6-7 audits that they done, they failed. That's the biggest fraud right there. But you get ready to put another 150 billion into that. But you cutting all these programs. You know, SNAP, Medicaid, Affordable Care Act, Medicare, the temporary assistance for needy families, 40 billion. They cut. Education, 150 billion. Public health and social services, 110 billion. Housing assistance, 100 billion. WIC and school meals, 60 billion. IRS and tax enforcement, 170 billion. Veteran programs for mental health and housing programs, transition assistance programs and military family cutbacks, 90 billion. The EITC and child tax credit, 130 billion. You cutting a lot of this. This is all the stuff that you're talking about cutting. Public health, WIC and school meals. You know what I mean? This is stuff that low income families depend on. You know what I mean? Especially mothers just having kids. What's the first thing they go get? WIC. You know what I mean? A lot of low income families depend on WIC, especially when they just having these babies. School lunches, free lunch. I mean, you cutting a lot of this stuff. I mean, and it seems like okay, you making all these cuts, but what does all these cuts have in common? They're all dealing with people middle to low income. Because you don't see nothing else. This is, I mean, how many millionaires do you see that's on Medicaid? None. How many you see getting child tax credits? I mean, and WIC and housing assistance and public health, social services, and the school psychiatrists and all them, like all of them getting cut. You know what I mean? We in the United States have more school shootings than anywhere in the world. But you cutting school psychiatrists. The actual people that can help some of these kids to keep them from doing some stuff that they're doing. You cutting that. You cutting the school lunches to where some of these low income families that their kids can't eat. Now, all this for a deduction and a tax. You know what I mean? Where you have I was looking on here and it says the actual verdict on this. It says most working class Americans will get little to nothing. It helps if you own your own business, you earn 150K to 500K, don't rely on public benefits, and you itemize and get SALT and QBI restored. It hurts if you rely on Medicaid, ACA, Affordable Care Act, SNAP. You're a renter in with a state that has a high state tax, and you're elderly or disabled on public health support. If you fall within any of them categories, this bill gonna kick you in the mouth. Now, I went through this thing. I didn't go through no 900 pages. But if you see, I got about 70 some odd pages of notes here. It talks about a little bit of everything dealing with this. And I'm still trying to fathom how you have Congress, Senator and House, that could honestly sit there and say that you helped your constituents and you did the best that you could, and you put a bill in place that does not help them at all. Now, if you rich, you making millions and billions, then yeah, you're gonna make out like a fat rat on this bill. But if you suffering at all and you getting any kind of benefits, and you trying to go for any kind of benefits, then you basically shit out of luck. I don't see where this this comes in at. And then on top of that, you're getting ready to add another 3.4 trillion to the deficit, which we already sitting at 37 trillion already, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And the actual payment per month is how much?
Man, it's way up.
I mean, it's over $1 trillion a month, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you about to add 3.4 trillion on top of that. So you about to say, hey, now 40. So you're gonna be over $40 trillion in debt. Over $40 trillion in debt. Now we're sitting here talking about, they've been talking about for months, waste, fraud, and abuse. Okay. You started out at first, you posted up all this stuff about, we saved, 20 million from this program. We saved 100 million off this program. And then you had to go back and change those numbers because it fluctuated those numbers, and it wasn't the right numbers, and you cut programs that shouldn't have been cut. Like for instance, when they cut USAID, and you still had all those shipments out there with all that food in those containers, all that food went to waste. None of that food got to the places that they were supposed to go. It all went to waste. All ended up in the garbage. Millions of dollars in food went in the garbage. So you claiming that you trying to cut back. You laying off all these federal workers, and you laying off doctors and nurses from the VA and people from the Weather Center and the Meteorological Society, who's they're running at like 30% capacity, knowing that it's hurricane season and you got all these storms that's coming up, but they running on 35% capacity. You even laid off the people that was over the nuke programs. You laying them off. Then you had to turn around and try to gather them back up in here. But there's a lot of people that's getting laid off. There's a lot of people that's gonna be laid off. You're gonna have a huge unemployment problem. Now, we already had at one point before they started dropping off these federal workers, your unemployment was already over, what was it, 6 million at one point? Then Then we started laying all these people off. Okay, so now you're probably looking at probably about 7, 8 maybe. Now, if they didn't find no jobs right off, where'd they end up going? It's and now you're gonna have a lot of them that's not gonna be able to be eligible to get these benefits. Then what happens? So when you cut all this stuff and you don't have nowhere else to turn, what happens? Isn't this just another way of starting the unrest? I mean, hell, if I can't eat, then it's a problem. It's going to be a problem. You know what I mean? If these people can't feed their families, and they get kicked off of Fiscal, they get kicked off Medicaid, they get kicked off Medicare, they get kicked off of SNAP, because I think those are some of the important ones. You know what I mean? The VA, it's important. I mean, the VA has a program where if you had a veteran that had lost his job, or he got laid off or whatever, he could go to the VA up to 3 times, and they would help him. They would help him, get his bills under control, take care of it for the month, whatever. If he had a car that was broken down, they would try to get him fixed so that way he can get back and forth to work, stuff like that. They cut that program. And I know a lot of veterans, they use that, you know what I mean? Because sometimes you just fall on hard times. You just need that little bit of help. But cutting these programs is going to hurt. Like I said, if you got money, you ain't worried about these programs. But all these ones here, it's going to hurt. And especially, some of all these ones that sit here and voted all this MAGA shit. I mean, a lot of these going to hurt in these red states, because a lot of these red states are broke already. So what are they going to do? What you think?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm for the state assuming responsibility, and hear me out why. When the Democrats go into office, I automatically know in my mind that the Democrats believe in big government and they believe in social programs. When the Republicans go into office, I automatically know they believe in small government and they have a root hog or die poor. They don't believe in the free lunch. So when Trump was going into office, anybody that knew what type of guy he was should have been positioning themselves to realize there's not going to be no handouts here. A lot of the Democratic states, in fact, the majority of them are welfare states. That means you have more people living off the system than you have supporting it. So then you have to take money from the federal government to keep that cycle going by putting responsibility on the state to assume more responsibility on the social programs. That kind of twists their arm and encourages them to encourage people to get jobs and work. I mean, there was 147,000 actual living wage jobs that were created in just the month of June. I mean, the state that I live in would be a welfare state. We have more people on the system than we have supporting it. I know 3 generations, grandmother, mother, daughter, and grandchildren, no, 4 generations, all living off the system, all selling food stamps, all not trying to work. I know guys that are stronger and bigger than me, way bigger than me, in their 30s, 40s, living off the system, won't work a job. And it doesn't occur to them that when you get to be 64, 65, or say 62, and you can start drawing Social Security, if you haven't paid into the system, there's going to be no money waiting on you when you get there. I mean, anything that, if I could say I've learned anything in life, if I want to have anything, I had to work for it. I had to put in effort. I had to try to achieve it. And then I'm looking at people that aren't doing anything in my area, and they got better medical benefits than I do. And I don't see the fairness in that. if you have more people living off the system than you got supporting it, in my mind, you have a failed system. And by them requiring the state to assume more responsibility, they should, because they're encouraging this. They're creating the programs. The Democrats run those states. They're creating this scenario, and then they want you to give money to them so that they can keep this failed economy going. An economy is based upon money moving. And in order for money to move, people have to work. If people are working, you got a tax base that you can draw from, and you got a moving economy. But if everybody's sitting back waiting on the free check, then man, that's bankruptcy in a nutshell to me. And is innocent people going to get hurt because this becomes law tomorrow? Yeah. Unfortunately, to get at the cancer, you got to cut out some healthy cells. I mean, it's what's going to happen. I feel bad, but I live in one of those states where a lot of people I know don't want to work. And after COVID happened and they saw that they could sit home and draw more money than they did if they were working, man, a bunch of them in my area wouldn't even go back to work. They're still off. And according to this thing on the welfare reform, it says any able-bodied person. They're going to have to put in some work. They may still get some benefits, but they're going to have to earn the benefits. It's not going to be sit back and just draw free money and go out. And I know some of them that are getting that money, they're doing criminal shit on top of it. I mean, it's bad for me to even see. And I've got relatives that even fall into that. But it's the world we live in, you know. It comes down to a philosophical question. That question is, why is life unfair? And it comes down to whoever's running it. Like I said, Republicans, small government, but you better root hog or die poor. Democrats, large government, a lot of social programs. And on those social programs, I've never seen anyone get rich. So I'd rather live under the root hog, die poor environment, because I'm going to live a higher standard of living than I will if I'm sitting on a program and I'm in a community that's not doing much. So I personally feel the state should start to take on more responsibility. If you're going to allow this to happen, you're not going to encourage people to work. You're not going to create jobs. You're not going to try to draw businesses to your community. Then, yeah, you should take on more responsibility. Then you'll find the motivation to get up and do something. But I feel sorry for those that are going to get hurt by it.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of them that's going to be hurt over. I mean, now.
Right now, I know people that work for the Board of Education. They have a free lunch from 12 to 1 o'clock for anybody that's age 5 to 18 years of age, a free lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some of their parents and they're not putting in no effort to even feed their own kids. They got the food, but they're selling the damn food stamps to get nails done, eyelashes done, hair done, feet done. And I've seen their fathers, or lack of it. I don't see no leadership of fatherhood in my community right now. There's very few and far in between us trying to stand up and be anything. And people who are disabled, and I'm talking mentally as well as physically, they're going to qualify. But people that I personally know that are bigger and stronger than me and don't even want to take the trash out to the street, you got to do it for them. Some of them. And I don't feel no sympathy there. I really don't.
Mhm. Now,
And I know a
I'm
lot of
gonna
people out there ain't gonna like it, but I mean, it's what it is.
I mean, I get that. I mean, I get that. I mean, I'm pretty sure that somebody that's listening right now would actually agree with what you're saying. I get that.
Oh, there'll be
Now,
some that most of them probably
a couple
won't.
things. Well, some may want, some may not, some will. Because like I said, that's why people have opinions. Everybody has one. Now I will say this. Now, we talk about people like, abusing the system. Yes. And people
Yeah,
been abusing the SNAP. They've been abusing SNAP since you had the actual food stamps that you tore out the damn book.
right,
They've been selling
right.
shit
Uh,
forever. They've
I've
been
seen it
doing
my
that.
entire life.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And a lot of them was selling because you remember back then you could get the stamps and you could get a check and you could get um, um, health insurance. Then some of them you couldn't get that. You could just get the food stamps. So a lot of them they was going and they had 5, 6 kids. They racking up, which you know when you actually think about this though, because like you hear people talk about it all the time, like man, did this person get $1,400 a month in food stamps? True, but that actually averages out to though $6 a day. That's what it
right.
averages out to. Now, are they going filling up their refrigerator? Yep, and they making a cup and they selling a couple $100 in stamps that where they got like actual cash. Yep, they've been doing that. Like I said, that's been going on. That's if you're talking about waste, fraud, and abuse, fuck, that's been going on. Shit, I'm going on 50. It was going on before then.
Right.
That's been happening. Now,
But it's not fair to a
what
worker
I'm
like
looking at
me
here,
that works all of his life to try to get somewhere. And like I said, someone has better medical benefits than me, and I've worked my entire life and paid into the system my entire life. How can that even be fair?
well, yeah.
So I'm
Well, I'm
for
gonna tell you.
them reforming this to get able-bodied people up and get them back working. Because there's no reason with as many jobs in my area. There's signs everywhere. And then I got panhandlers out here wanting me to give them money, and they're getting benefits, and I'm supposed to give them money. I won't give them nothing no more. I point to them. You want a few dollars from me? That's nothing. You can go over here and get a paycheck. There's a sign up uh for hire right here. They won't get up off their ass and do shit. So I
I
I
mean,
got mixed feelings
I'm with you
for
100% on that part.
yeah. And when I see women selling the food stamps they're supposed to go to feed the kids, and then the kids aren't being fed. And I've talked with people that work in the school system and the cafeterias, and they tell me that they have to fix breakfast in the morning because the mothers aren't even getting up to give the kids breakfast. Now, if you're not working and you're sitting there at the house, how can you not feed your own child? You know, so
Mm, Well,
I just got mixed
I'm a
feelings on it.
I'm a I'm gonna fess up. You know what? I'm gonna fess up and say this. Now, number one, I do agree with you. Now, I'm gonna tell you, from the time I was 15 years old, I always had a damn job, and there was plenty
Mhm.
of times that I said it's bullshit that I'm sitting out here working and struggling, and you got some ones over here that ain't doing shit, and they got brand new Jordans on, and they sitting here doing all this shit. I totally agree with you on that. I've also been there at times where somebody was selling them food stamps and they was 50 cents on the dollar, and I was like, shit, run them. I ain't gonna lie and say I didn't do that shit. I'd do it right now if somebody got them. You know what I mean? Somebody call right now and say, I got $400 worth, 50 cents on the dollar. All right, we got a fucking deal. I ain't gonna lie about that shit because I know I can't get them. I can't walk in there and you just gonna give them to me. Shit.
Right.
But if I'm gonna get 400 for 200, you got a damn deal. Ain't nobody walking around this bitch right now. Ain't nobody watching this show right now to say that they gonna turn their back and just let them shits just go to waste. You're not gonna do it. That's a lie. That's a whole lie.
I've never used them. I never used them. I've been offered, but I never used them.
I ain't never used them. I ain't never had one to have my name on them. You know what I mean? And then I didn't take the fucking card in the store. I'd make them motherfuckers come right with me. You do this. I'm just gonna pick what I want. I'm not gonna hold the card. I'm not gonna punch no numbers in. I ain't doing none of that shit. But I'm gonna tell you, a deal is a fucking deal. And I'm gonna tell you, ain't nobody on this motherfucker. If somebody on here right now and say I wouldn't do that, you're a damn lie. You're going to hell tomorrow. You're a damn lie. You know you're gonna do it. You know what I mean? Now,
let me say this. Let me say this one point.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Life is a roller coaster ride. You got your ups and downs. Now, if someone fell on hard times or their job suddenly shut down or closed and they had to go on the system for a period of time, as long as they have it in their heart, they got enough fire in their heart to want to provide, and this is just a temporary move. I'm going to come busting out the wall here, and I'm like a jet on a laser trail here, just red hot. I'm about to burn up. I'm about to climb back up the ladder again. I don't care on that. If a person's just going to be on it for a minute, but when I can count 3 or 4 generations and uncles and aunts and everybody's on it, and I'm busting my ass going into work on 90, 100-degree weather, working in a hot factory, and they're back just partying, having a good damn time. Man, I just don't have the sympathy in my heart. It's hard in my heart to that. But for someone that just temporarily just needs a little helping hand, a leg up, I'm all for giving that to them. But when you can count 2, 3, 4 generations, man, that's just too damn much.
You know, I'll say this though. There's been times that, you know, like I said, things happen. There's been times things that happen that, you know, I got laid off from a job, waiting for another one to come, you know what I mean, come through, whatever. I never walked in there and signed up for no assistance. Never. And I'm gonna tell you the reason why. The main reason why I didn't want to do it is because I didn't want them fuckers knowing my business. Because you know, when you go in there, they want to know everything. Every single thing that there is to know, they want to know. And it was like, you know what? I'm good. I just figured the fuck out before I sit here at this desk like I'm begging you for something and give you all my information and tell you everything that there is to know about me. You know what? I figured something else out. And I did. You know what I mean? But like I said, like I know people that get SNAP that don't even get $100. You know what I mean? It's like, what the hell are you even getting it for? Or they get like $250 or something like that. That ain't shit. It's like now with the way the prices are, that ain't shit.
No.
You know what I mean? Now back in the day, yeah. You know what I mean? You always knew who was getting the SNAP. You see them in the grocery store. They got 2 carts full.
Yeah.
All junk food, all the snacks, all the chips, all that. You know what I mean? You seen them when they moved around. You knew what they was about to do. Right. You knew they wasn't about to pull no cash out. You knew that car was about to come in use, or they're gonna pop that booklet out and they're gonna get the ripping. You knew that was there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I said, I know that happens. I know that happens. But I know that there's, with the number that may be doing that, there's a greater number that doesn't do that. And the end result is that both of them going to end up paying for it.
I see your point there.
So like take for instance, even with the taxes, because you brought up the taxes earlier. And it said with the income level less than 30,000, you got a slight increase, but a reduced refund. So take a single person, 30,000 a year, no kids. Right now, in 2024-25 taxes, they would have got about $1,100 back on the refund. Under this new one, the refund would be $450. So they take a $650 loss.
Okay.
If you were married with 2 kids and you made 65 to 70,000 a year, your total tax due would be roughly 3,200, 2,600. So you would owe 600. You wouldn't get no refund. So you had a couple. Let's say we had a couple that was making 180 a year, and they had some itemized deductions. Okay, so their total tax due off of that 180,000 would be 21,000. With the deductions and all that, they would make roughly $600 with the deductions. A business owner with 500,000 a year, their taxes due would be 122,000 as of 2024. Under the new, it would be 108,000, so they would save 14,000. Retiree, 45,000 a year. Social Security and pension, their tax due 2024, 2025 would be 1,800. Under the new one, it would be zero. So what it says here is that if you were 30,000 and below, you had a slight risk or reduced refund. 30,000 to 100,000, you had a modest tax cut, mostly from standard deductions. 100K to 250,000, mixed itemizers, you may lose out. W-2 filers are less favored. 250K to 1 million are the clear winners, especially if you're business owners. And greater than 1 million, you have major tax cuts, mostly from pass-through, estate, and SALT benefits. So basically on here, if you making under 100K, you the one that's actually getting taxed the most, because you ain't really getting nothing back. When you do get something back, it's going to be way less than what you would get back this next year is going to be less than what you would have got this year based on this. Now, what I just read here, this all came from the actual breakdown of this bill itself. So these were like the examples that they post, that was put along with it. So you could kind of go along with it and understand what it was that they were doing. But like I said, if it's not the if you ain't really making no big money, you're losing here. Even if you're not collecting any of these benefits, you're still losing on the back end. So it seems like that there's stuff that they're going to be doing, but it's a whole lot of, like I said, you got over $120 billion in earmarks on this bill, because they went through and was like, okay, I need your vote. And you're like, well, I ain't going to give it to you unless you give my state this, and you give my state this. And just like Alaska, because Alaska was the one that was making all the wheels and deals. Now, if you go to Alaska after this bill signed, you good, because Alaska made a deal to where they're exempt from all of this for that vote. I think Hawaii did too.
Yeah, Hawaii did too. Yeah.
So they got exempt from all this right here because they made a deal. Now, did they read it? Probably not. This is all dealing with votes. And that's what it's crazy how this is, because we sit here week after week and we hear all the time. You know, you're watching the news, you're watching these different reports and documentaries and stuff like that, and all you hear is Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat. That's all you hear. Everything has to be a political thing. Everything has been a political thing instead of a people thing. Now, it didn't matter about whether you was a Republican or a Democrat to decide right and wrong. You don't got to be a Republican or a Democrat to know how to fucking read. And read something before you vote on it. Not because, okay, well, he wants it and I don't want to go against him. He ain't the one you got to deal with when it comes election time. He ain't the one you got to deal with. So this goes into effect and all these people start losing these benefits. What do you think gonna happen? You got midterms next year. What do you think gonna happen? There's gonna be a whole lot of people sent home, especially in these states that's already broke. Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, South Carolina, North Carolina, red states, broke. Now they got to come up with some more money that they don't have. You got, right now, you in hurricane season. You got storms brewing up big time. We're going to have some heavy storms. It's going to hit some of these places. You're going to have some damage. You know what I mean? FEMA is hit and miss. They don't got no money, so they say, but they spending money left and right, but they don't have no money. So what does that mean? You borrowing. You borrowing money. You about to add another 3.4, 3.5 trillion on to the deficit. It's going to bring you clearly over 40 trillion. You ain't getting out of that. You ain't going to never get out of debt. Never. There's no way possible that you're going to get out of debt. And you steady spending. You know what I mean? The biggest ones that got the most money out of this bill has been Defense Department and Border Security. ICE got paid nice. They getting a lot of money out of this bill. These private prisons that's setting up these detention centers, like the one they just set up here in Florida, back in the Everglades. They get a lot of money off this deal. That's about it. Everybody else gonna pay for it. So if you make under 100,000, just know you about to get it. And don't say we didn't tell you. For those of you that want to read it, you can go on congress.org and pull up the actual bill and read it and look at the different provisions. You can even look at it by the state and see where your state falls in some of this stuff. How will it affect you state-wise? What you got to go through. Because it's a lot to it. A whole lot to it. And there's gonna come a time that people gonna have to get off of this right wing, left wing, and clearly decide what's right and wrong, what you're gonna deal with and what you're not. Because what we got going on right now is it's a clear disrespect to I feel, to anyone making below 100,000. It's a clear smack in the face. Like I said, I don't consider this a big, beautiful bill. I consider this a big bunch of bullshit, because that's exactly what I think it is. But we at 104, so we're gonna tone it down. But like I said, go on congress.org, pull up this bill, look at it yourself. and get at these representatives, these congressmen. You can also go on there and punch in your zip code or whatever, and it'll tell you who it is that's representing you up there. Give them a call. Tell them thanks for taking your Medicaid when their actual health care is free. Tell them thanks. But like I said, I appreciate everybody that came out this evening to watch. Like, follow, share, subscribe, pass it on. I don't when it comes to these benefits, other than the veteran benefits, rest of them I don't deal with personally. But I know people that do. And I know that there's going to be some people that's going to suffer. I know that there's going to be some people that's going to lose their Medicaid, Medicare, and they're not going to be able to go to these hospitals, and they're not going to go to hospitals, and they're going to perish. I know some of these hospitals that's going to get shut down. I know a lot of these private hospitals, if you don't have insurance, they're not going to take you.
Yeah.
There's going to be a mess. It's going to be a big mess. But I ask you all to, pay attention to what's going on. Take the political shit out of it. Right, wrong. Right, wrong. That's what this always should have been in the first place. Just because you on the red side don't make it right. Don't make it right if you're on the blue side either. Because they equally blamed for this shit right here. Equally blamed.
Mm-hmm.
It should not have been that close of a vote if you actually read this bill. If you actually read this bill, you would not be close to that. When you got people on like Marjorie Taylor Greene coming on like, oh, I didn't even read that part. I didn't even know that was even in there. But you voted, dumbass. Why would you vote if you didn't read it? You know what I mean? That's stupid. It's like if you seen something that was in a can and on the side of it, it said, do not drink, will cause respiratory distress and or death, and you just drink the shit anyway. Knowing it's written in big red letters across the damn can, don't drink. Oh, I didn't even read that. Like, wise up, people. Do you see the salaries that these people make? They make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Plus all the stuff they're getting from the lobbyists and everything else. So a lot of these congressmen and these senators are millionaires off the money that they're getting from these different companies.
Yep.
That's pushing fossil fuel now. So now they want to take out all the clean energy shit because fossil fuels is paying them. That's in this bill as well. Where you turn a blind eye to page 14 to 17 because that's what it's talking about. Oh, I didn't read that. But you voted for it. And you voted for it because you got lobbyists that's in your pocket putting extra money in your bank account, and you don't give a shit about what happens to them because you got money and you got free health care, so you don't give a shit. But the regular everyday person, you, me, are the ones that's going to pay for this. I just seen in the thing today that Trump's approval rating is what, 37%. And that was a Fox poll, 37%. What we doing here? Like I said, has nothing to do with political, has nothing to do with blue or red. It's right and it's wrong. This shit right here is wrong. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to let you go ahead and close it out, Aaron.
Well, like I've been saying all along, the best way to be is self-sufficient. The only thing that limits you is you limit yourself. When I wanted to make money, I worked two full-time jobs and one part-time job. If I wanted to make $100,000 that year or whatever, I knew what I had to do to be able to reach that goal. And I didn't let people that were short-sighted demotivate me. I had people tell me I was a fool for doing all that. I have no regrets. My dad instilled a hard work ethic into me, and I instilled the same thing into my kid, and I hope to be able to instill the same thing into my grandchildren. So I'm gonna stop there.
Don't forget, everybody, like, follow, share, subscribe, pass the show on. Like I said, that like button is just like sending $5. That gets the show on the right algorithm to be able to spread across YouTube and hit places that we don't get to, and get the audience that we need to come in here and actually, pay attention to the stuff that we're talking about here. Because a lot of stuff that we've been talking about, and we've been talking about for months prior to this stuff going on, has actually been popping up just like we said it was going to do 6, 7, 8 months ago. So like I said, pass it around, tell your friends about it, tell them go on, check it out. Also, we got the Diamond Effect store on the top. You hit the little QR code at the top there, scan it. We got a lot of good stuff on there. And then if you're not on the Facebook, the Diamond Effect on Facebook, go on. Just type it in your search, it'll pop up. We got a lot of stuff that we've been posting on there as well. We put out a lot of news on there that even though we only do this show once a week, but we put a lot of news on there that you can see throughout the week as well. So, like I said, I love y'all. Appreciate you all for coming out, and we'll see y'all next week.
Four.